Well, hello, and welcome to Brian Breaks Character. So we're still in the beginning of 2023, and if you're a longtime listener, you know that we do this every year. So right around the beginning of the year and about midway through the year, we drop a 2-episode series called The Actor Survival Guide. And I bring on some of the brightest brains in coaching actors across the country, around the globe, to have conversations with me about what they're seeing, what are the trends, what are some takeaways they're getting from their own clients, and how can we be more in this wild and woolly career of showbiz that has ups and downs. And honestly, I don't know if you are, if you ever think about this, if you're, to my actors who are listening, like, this business has trends. We see trends of like, here's what you need to have a blue background for your self-tape. You need to have this kind of sound. We're doing everything on Zoom. You should use Instagram in this way. You shouldn't use it in this way, right? So I really wanted us to land on solid ground. And so I find checking in at the beginning of the year and towards the middle of the year is a great way to do that. And selfishly, I love talking to these people because there's something in the collective consciousness that just comes out when we're all gathered together. So today on the episode, you're going to hear from, I should say on this week's episode and on next week's episode, this conversation was just too juicy to put it all into one episode. So this week's episode and next week's episode, so part 2, you're going to hear me talking with Emily Grace, Heidi Dean, Elise Arsenault Jo Kelly, Moniqua Plante, and DaJuan Johnson. Now they'll introduce themselves during the episode, and you'll get a background as, what kind of actors do they work with. But I also want you to know that there was such good stuff. We always do this too, is we actually put this together into its very own fancy little actor survival guide that you can download. So if you head to actorsurvivalguide.com, clever URL, huh? You'll be able to download this, and it's got the juiciest takeaways from our conversation. So actorsurvivalguide.com, you'll be able to grab all the notes from that so that you, the whole point of this is in service to you, so that you are aware of the trends. So this conversation really goes to those places around mindset, around practicality. I mean, we talk about social media. We talk about how to use social media to get more auditions. We talk about networking. And we talk about the craft in general and where we see that heading as well. Welcome to the Actor Survival Guide. I feel like I have the brain trust of coaches here with me today, and I'm so excited to have this conversation. But since I want you to know who's talking when they talk as we dig into this stuff today, I'm going to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves. Let's start with you, Moniqua Plante. Why don't you tell us a little about what you do?
Well, hello there. My name is Moniqua Plante with Moniqua Plante Wellness. I'm an actor and a certified health, life, and confidence coach who helps creatives stop obsessing, feel really good in their own skin and crazy confidence so they can bring the best of themselves to everything they do.
She sure does. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, Moniqua. Heidi, how about you? Want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Heidi Dean. I'm a social media strategist for actors, and I'm the creator of Marketing for Actors. It's the number 4. And it's my job and mission to turn social media rookies into rock stars.
And if you're not watching this on YouTube right now, you should head over because Heidi Dean has the most incredible microphone you've ever seen. It's sparkling and it's upstaging all of us, even though we all have bright, shiny smiles. So happy to be here. Elise, will you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Elise Arsenault. I am an actor and coach, narrator of over 160 audiobooks, the founder of The Global Actor, where I help actors live where they want and work when they want. And I'm the creator of The Great Audiobook Adventure, where I help actors build thriving income streams through acting to support the rest of their creative careers and lives.
Love it. And DaJuan, hey, mister.
Hey,
introduce yourself.
Hi. Yes, I'm gonna go get a mic like Heidi first of all. But I am DaJuan Johnson, and I help actors book off of self-tapes and get to their dreams faster with a booking mindset. And as a result of working with me, they get a repeatable step-by-step process that they can confidently submit an audition within 24 hours and book more roles. And I'm also a consistently working actor.
Sure is. Hello, Amy. Amy. Who's Amy? Who's Amy? Who's this ghost named Amy that I just said? When I looked at your name, Emily, I turned it into Amy. So everyone forgive me. Please welcome to the stage, Emily Grace. Will you introduce yourself?
Hello. I am not Amy. Sorry, Amy. My name is Emily Grace, and I'm the founder of Pickford West Society. I am a career coach and a Sundance award-winning actress, and I help actors write and produce their dream role.
She sure does. I have
you
so
do.
many people to talk to you
Period.
about. I can't wait to get it. Period. And that's on period. Jo Kelly, how about you? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jo Kelly. I have a cat in my throat. It's a French expression. And that's not what I do for a living. I guide actors to undo all social and emotional conditioning so that they can be reminded how to just be and not to act in full authenticity and freedom in order to defend incredibly alive, raw, and truthful characters.
Thank you, Jo Kelly. And thank you all for being here today. I really look forward to recording this episode because it's rare that we all get to be in the same room, even if it's a Zoom room of sorts together, right? And to have this conversation. And I want everyone to know as we're listening to here, my goal is that you're hearing authentically from the many different points of views that we have gathered from some topics that I think are important, especially as we're starting into a new year. So I thought I'd kick us off right away and talk about what is one piece of advice you have found yourself repeating. You could say over the past year or last time we were gathered this way was over a year ago. And Heidi, you're new to the roundtable this year because we weren't able to have you last year. I'm so glad you're here this year, right? So since then, what's something you've heard yourself saying as we're going out of the cusp of 2022, we're moving into 2023, something you found yourself saying again and again? And I see a nodding head for Elise. Can I come to you first, Elise?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I've been saying to myself and to actors I work with is you are enough. You don't need to do anything extra to stand out. It's about mining for who I already am. It's about you mining for who you already are. Your taste, your life experience, your relationships, the energy you give is all valid and beautiful. And this is where to begin when authentically creating your marketing materials, your reach outs, how you show up on social media and all the things. And I've experienced it deeply for myself this year. And so it's been really fun to notice that theme with my clients too.
Wait, Elise, you said you've experienced it a lot with yourself this year. Will you go a little deeper? Tell us what that means.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so interesting. I was thinking about what I talked about last year, which was at one point you were asking everyone last year whose voices we were listening to, like whose books we were listening to and everything. And I boldly said, I'm listening to myself this year. And I did. And that was in 2022. It was all about like deepening my inner wisdom and really recognizing what's already within me. I did that with the help of, shout out to Sasha Alexander, who's a coach I worked with last year and I'm working with this year, who really helped me just build a project around inner work. And so because of all the deep inner work I've done, I just feel so much more clear this year in what the new goals are. Last year, I didn't even have an exact goal besides some inner work stuff, but I didn't have an outward goal, which is unusual for me because I teach people how to create goals, how to break them down. I'm a Virgo. I always have some kind of map in front of me. So it was a year of really uncomfortable growth, and some really cool transformation.
That's awesome. I love that, Elise. How about you, Monica? What about you? What's your advice you find yourself saying all the time?
This is kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what Elise said, is when you finally learn to put yourself and your well-being first, your mind, your body, your spirit, you will bring the best of yourself to everything you do. You cannot give from an empty cup. You will be a better partner, a better parent, a better friend, a better entrepreneur, and yes, a better actor, because you'll be bringing the best of yourself, like I said, rather than just what's left of yourself. And like Elise, I had to walk my walk this past year, and it manifested in some really cool things. And it's nice when we actually do walk our walk and we're like, oh yeah, this really works.
Totally. DaJuan, how about you? What's your repeatable advice?
One of the things I think I've said, and maybe you all have heard it or said it yourself too, is when I'm working with actors is stop worrying about what anybody else wants, or stop worrying about what casting directors want. Stop worrying about what you think the director or the producer, they want in these auditions or these scenes. It is something that I have repeated so much ad nauseum, but in a good way. I think it's getting through to actors. I think they're understanding that auditioning is kind of like acting, or auditioning is kind of like being on set. The old way we used to think about it is whatever we did in an audition, we're going to bring it to the set. But like, they're not looking at this always like that. And so stop worrying about, what do the casting directors want for me to book? That's not what we should be worrying about. Newsflash, here's a spoiler alert, they want you. They want you. But if you're not tapped into you and what you bring and what makes you unique, and trusting yourself and bringing the confidence to that, then you're going to be, it's like this empty shell. And I think a lot of it, stem from also me coming off of a show and having to get back into, what do I really think about these characters? Or what do I really think about these people? Instead of like, oh, I've been on a set before, so I know how to move and step here and do this. And it just like kind of permeated that way.
I love that. I love that. I also love, so there's a thread that I'm finding through this a little bit is like, Elise, you started when you said your own taste level is even a part of that. Like that your own taste of like your own desire, this is how I think this character, this is what I think this is about, as opposed to what does someone else want in it. And then that, I love what Monica brought to is like, and none of that gets to happen. Get a good night's sleep, drink some water. Like there's more than the basics of that. I want to make sure that I'm saying that, but like that we when we filled this empty cup. Like, can you say that phrase again, Monica? Because it was so good. The last one you said, like, instead of what's left, whatever you said, I was like, that is me. That is me. That is me. Sometimes.
That's been me many times, which is why I'm drilling it into everyone else's heads. Like, you cannot give from an empty cup. And when you do finally take care of yourself, you will be bringing the best of yourself rather than just what's left of yourself.
Yes. How dare you read me on my own freaking show. Heidi, what's some advice that you're saying over and over again?
Well, something I say all the time with actors and to myself, because I'm a recovering perfectionist, I deal with it every day, is to focus on connection, not perfection on social media. I've had viral posts. I've had clients who've had viral posts that have surpassed mine. And guess what? None of these posts were perfect. In fact, one of my best performing posts ever on any platform had a huge glaring grammatical error right in the center of it. And it still went viral. And why? It's because it connected with my audience on a deep level. It didn't matter that it said A instead of Ann on it, right?
You remembered, because the recovering perfectionist noticed, though.
I remembered. I have a college degree, and I've dealt with this a long time. But what I've realized, and what I teach, on social and with my clients is, trying to be perfect on social media with your posting, it leads to posting paralysis, or what my community calls FOP. Fear of posting, where you find yourself staring at that tweet, staring at that caption forever, tweaking it, and most of the time you just never end up posting it, right? And you just have to know your videos will never be perfect. Your tweets may sometimes have a typo. Thank you, autocorrect, right? But just post them with the intention of making a connection with your followers, even if it's just one person, okay? And just remember that on social media, it is about connection, not perfection.
That's so good. That could be taken in so many other places. We think about our marketing as well. I think we really have that. We have that disastrous, like, if I say this the wrong way, they're going to hate me and never call me in again, or they're never going to talk to me again, or I did the wrong thing by sending a thank you because I'm worried about how I say it than sending it, right? Emily, how about you? What's some stuff you're repeating this year? You've been finding yourself saying again and again.
So many things I could choose. Well, it was hard to choose just one thing. But I think the main thing I've been repeating a lot, and to myself to take my own advice, is don't create in a vacuum. So we help actors learn how to write. They learn story structure and they have an idea. And a lot of times what I see actors really struggle with is this idea that they know more about writing than they actually do. So then they sit at home alone at their laptop and they try to figure it out by themselves. And then it leads to what Heidi was mentioning, that paralysis of like, I need to think about this idea and it has to be perfect before I can get it down on the page, but I also don't know how to get it on the page. And they sort of spin around in this painful place for a very long time. And one of the things that I love about what I get to do is feedback groups, creating a script, of course, you have to do the writing by yourself, but there's something so magical that happens when we come together in collaboration, in support of one another. And there's, this magic that happens that someone else can see something in your script that you didn't see, or uncover something that was there the whole time that didn't quite click with you, or give one piece of feedback that kind of unlocks this amazing turn that your story can take. And I had to take my own advice on that as well, because I have had a script I've been kind of writing on and off for a long time in a vacuum. And I finally was like, wait a minute, I run a feedback group. Like, I could come to the group too. And so I finally pushed myself to really get it done, and then I was able to finish the script, which is very exciting. But yes, don't create in a vacuum. Get yourself into a group of other creatives. It makes the process so much more enjoyable, and it keeps you moving towards some momentum.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things, Emily, it reminds me of this phrase, my own best thinking got me here. That's a phrase from, I'm not in recovery, but I know plenty of people who are. But your own best thinking got you here is a phrase that they will be using, they use. And so I was like, some other thinking needs to interrupt the thinking that you've got in your own head to help you, to knock you off your, and especially when someone says, I know I'm going to write something, and they sit down and they're by them, like, this was really too hard. I need to walk away. And that you have those many moleskin notebooks full of ideas that never get opened after 3 years and 10 years. They're just full of ideas that got started, or 20 pages got written, and then you put it back down again. And that other part of that feedback loop that I think also shows up, and I'm sure you see this, is you're like excited to have those people you've created safety with hear it and to share it. And like, I'm doing the writing because I can't wait to share it again, as opposed to I'm doing the writing just to get it right, which is kind of ties us all together. Jo Kelly, what have you been repeating to people? Yeah.
Well, definitely ties all together. I keep repeating a question, which is, are you being really interested right now, or are you trying to be interesting? And they're, of course, two very different things. Are you being interested right now in your human experience, in this moment, in this room, in this tape, with this character, with this story? Or are you trying to look good in it? Are you trying to be interestingly perceived from the outside, right? Because whenever anyone gets stuck, it's because that presence in being interested, paying attention, and focusing is no longer there, and you're focusing in the next moment. I'm trying to be interesting. I'm trying to manipulate the outcome. I'm trying to look good. I'm trying to do it right, whether it's in writing or in acting. And going back to to am I good enough? It doesn't even exist. Good enough is an invented concept. The question is, are you human enough? If you're human enough, because you are human, what you've got going on is interesting. It will be interesting if you would just be interested enough in what's happening right here, right now. It's everything. It's the only reality that exists. Everything else is delusional. For you to try and be interesting in the future because you think that what they want is this thing, and if you push that thing, then you will hit the mark. I mean, it's absolute delusional. It doesn't exist. What you have is right now. Stay interested in your experience, in your character, rather than your ego, right? Because when I'm trying to manipulate the outcome, I'm paying attention to my ego's needs. I'm not paying attention to my character's needs. So just stay interested. And if you stay interested, it keeps you away or far, or is that English? It keeps you away? Yeah, it keeps you away or far from trying to be interesting. I should worry more about trying to be interesting. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. I also think it makes a lot of sense because I think, I'm sure all of you have seen an actor or sat down with an actor, or that anyone listening has been an actor in a class or somewhere where the actor is so focused on the outcome that
doing
you
it right.
are, and it's not, and it's in you. It can be a little frustrating to be in that class with somebody because you're like, you so want to see them beyond but their focus, right? I'll say the one thing that I've been saying all year is, and I don't know if it aligns with anything we say. You guys will tell me if you make a connection to what I'm saying here. Is to be a rebel, and what I mean by that is to let go of ideas of how you have to create or have to make something, even if they're given to one by the brilliant people who are in this room right now. And I think we would all agree is like, we give you a container and then you have to make it your own. It's like when you go to a class and you learn a technique, cool, you learned the technique, then how does that technique fit on your body particularly? And what about today on your body? Maybe that isn't triggering you in the way that it needs to get into that scene or whatever, or that thing you're recording or whatever it is, that it's not filling you. And so I've been very much advocating for my clients to, here, let me tell you how Brian's take on that. And then what's your take on what I just said? How do you own that more so that's more yours? And take mine whole cloth if that feels right to you, but don't agree with me if it's not authentic to what you actually are going to follow through with, I guess is a way I would say that too. Yeah. Okay.
I think that all goes together, Brian.
Yeah. Tell me, how did you see it?
Well,
Connect the dots for me, because I want.
The through line for all of this is like that perfectionism sort of thing, trying to do it right, trying to be different, trying to be enough, trying to be interesting, trying to do it right. Right. And I know we talked about this last year at this time, is that perfectionism, that kind of all or nothing behavior, it leaves you with nothing. We become paralyzed. We choose other people's, ideas rather than our own. We try to do it right. We're worried about what everybody thinks, what other people are doing, what their journey is, all of that, rather than just being on our own brilliant path, right? Because when you do try and make it perfect, that it's like you end up doing all of it or none of it, right? And like I said, the all or nothing thing, it leaves you with nothing.
Leaves you with nothing, yeah. Yeah. Did anybody else have any reflections before I move on? Yeah, Elise, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I really connect with the idea of a rebel. And I think that we're all pack animals. And so, especially in this industry, for so long, so many of us have been trying to do it right, quote unquote, right, whatever that is, and it's really like, there's so many systems. Won't get it really deep into this, but there are lots of systems of oppression in our industry. And so being a rebel can be scary, and some people might not like that. And I think we have to get over that some people aren't going to like us. Like any great performance, some people are going to love, some people are going to hate. Any great actor, some people are going to love and some people are going to hate. So just get over that. It's hard. I'm not over it yet, but it's like a daily practice of that. And I think surrounding yourself with people who are also after that, like this whole group here, we're a bunch of rebels breaking down gatekeeping in the industry, empowering people. And so it's been really helpful for me to just make sure I keep surrounding myself with people who are also interested in finding their authenticity and sharing it, even though it gets scary and some days are easier than others.
Yeah. I would just add to that I don't know if this is, nobody looked this up, a synonym for rebel, what I've been using is pioneer. Right? Because I think a lot of actors, I've been saying, you need to be a pioneer in your career. What do I mean by that, DaJuan? We laid out this beautiful plan with one of my VIP clients about, she was like, Quinta Brunson, I want to be like her, showrunner. She had her own thing. And now she's like, they're winning all these Emmys and all that stuff like that, whatever. And then we laid it out where she was going to write and she's going to do show running and she's going to do it. And she went back and she said, I said, what do you think about our plan? She's like, well, I don't want any agent to see this and think I'm not a serious actor, because you're supposed to always only do acting. And I was like, this has to stop. Name names, you all. You are a pioneer in your industry, in your career. And if you want something like Quinta Brunson has, if you want something like Issa Rae, then you have to trailblaze in your own path. Take their stuff. But no, what we want to do is not understand that we are brands, right? That it has changed. And that old thinking of, I have to do it this same way, that's not working for a lot of actors, by the way, y'all. We can say that is not working. Like 90+, it's not working. Well, what about this other way? And so I've been saying, we need to be a pioneer. And sometimes when those people were pioneering, they didn't have a path. They were scared. They didn't know which way to go. And so, you know what? Use an Emily where you can have a feedback group. Use a Moniqua where you can have, like, you can tell you all your health stuff, all that stuff, social media.
Your social media, I was going to say. Like, they're so scared to put themselves out there on social media that you've got a virtual stage to put yourself there. Why are you so scared?
You know?
That's what I'm saying. And I told them, like, this is a brand. So I love Rebel, but I think everybody's like, Rebel. But I'm like, what if you just switched it to let's be a pioneer here?
I love it. Also,
I have to jump in. I have to jump in about the pioneer word.
Yes.
Pioneer. That was
Great.
one of the reasons why I called my company Pickford West. It's based on Mary Pickford and Mae West, who were phenomenal pioneers of early Hollywood before Hollywood really was established and knew what it was, and the gatekeepers were all in place. It was sort of this wild west that no one knew what it was. And they were two amazing pioneering women who took their success into their own hands. Mary Pickford started the first ever production company run by actors in like the 1920s. Like, it was absolutely revolutionary. It was unheard of. And it was called United Artists, which is a brand that has lasted. And Mae West was this amazing pioneer of sex positivity. She was a huge advocate of gay rights in the 1930s when that was not, it was a dangerous thing to be. She wrote her own content. It was very, like a lot of brilliant sexual innuendo. She was is that a gun in your pocket? You're just having a dream, which is like another pioneer whose brand has stayed around because it was so unique and so tailored to those women. So I'm all for pioneering your own path. I think it's so empowering and so necessary and possible in this era of technology and social media. We have access to create whatever it is we want to create and then showcase that on a global stage.
Yeah, Joe, what did you want to add?
Can I? Yeah, that a pioneer. You started a movement, DaJuan. I think it's also important for actors to remember, like, what is acting? It's not running around trying to get auditions. What is it? It's modern mythology, right? It started in the caves. It's people trying to connect with each other to say, hey, I experienced this. Let me tell you how that story went so that you can benefit from that experience and try to play with it yourself. Right? It's modern mythologies, and people are crazy about actors and stories because it does help us, the audience, to get a little bit of insights on how do I do this tragic thing called life? Like, how I don't know how to go about it. Like, by the time I've learned how it goes, I lose everything I had and everyone I loved, and then I die. And you have stories who were there, therefore they have to be told by pioneers. They have to be told by, warriors of the heart, like open-hearted, daring, brave, rebellious pioneers who can wake everybody up and remind everyone of what it is. What is it like to have a human experience? What is it about? What can it look like? What can it also look like? Like, that's what story is here for. And that's why it's always been there, and it will always be there. So you can't have half-assed pioneers leading those stories.
You end up in the grapes of wrath with the half-assed pioneer. Dusty dust bowl of it all.
You need full-blown
Full
human
ass.
beings.
Yeah,
Full ass
Heidi,
human beings.
And Heidi, how do you relate to this? Because I feel like you have like the direct route to do this. I would love to just have you weigh in here a bit, because I feel you must see people.
Is Heidi like over there, like rubbing her, like filing her nails,
like,
like
yep.
social media?
This is what I said. Yes, totally.
Well, this goes back to the fear of posting, the fear of putting themselves out there. Every day I talk to a client, I talk to an actor on social media, and they're afraid to dive into who they are. You look at their social media and it's all self-tapes, which it shouldn't be. It's all actor, actor, actor. Like, they're afraid to put themselves out there and a little bit about who they are as a human, which is really what makes them special, right? Yeah. So it's for me, it's a interesting. I'm trying to find the word. It's just
interesting. Feels way too kind. I mean, like super frustrating, annoying. Like,
yes. I was trying to find a nice word. Okay. It's very frustrating for me because if I'm able to put myself out there and do some of the silly content that I put out there, why can't they do it when they're performers and they're actors and it can actually get them cast? I can't tell you the amount of clients that I have that are creating content that are getting managers, agents. They're getting called in, especially from Reels and TikTok, because they're putting themselves out there on the stage that they have here. So what are you afraid of? Are you waiting to get that audition, so to get that job, so you have that stage, on screen or, on stage to show people what you got? You've got it. You are enough, right?
Yeah.
You've got it. So start using the tools that are there. They're not going away. I had that conversation with an actor today. Instagram is not going away anytime soon. So now's the time to use it to share your talents with the world. It's
Society.
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best time ever to be an actor because of social media right now.
And I don't know about y'all, but you can tell me I'm wrong, Heidi, but I get my news on Instagram and TikTok. Those are the places where I get them. I also will go to the New York Times. Of course, I'm also that person as well. But also, I will get some of my news is coming through there. So, we are really looking at it in a lot of ways that I think we might have related to it previously. It's not just about pretty pictures at all. That might seem a little mundane or kindergarten level talking about social media, but I think that a lot of us are going there for different reasons. And one of the things that, as you talked about this, Heidi, what I kept thinking about was when I was when I was acting, I was successful with the commercials, right? And going to so many commercial auditions, I was no skin in the game because you're going to pick me because you like the way I look and I did a good job, not just because I did a good job. 20% is do a good job, 80% is the way you look, is the way I related to commercials. And I feel like social media gives a muscle, a habit of put yourself out there that could be a little bit easier to do that if you can keep doing it over and over. I've worked the muscle. This is a habit to be so scared of it if I'm doing it here, right? So I love that. Okay, my pioneers, let's tackle another question, right? And this is one that comes up way too often. And it's a gross word, and you know the word already. I don't even have to say it. What's the word? Anyone guess?
Networking.
And
I thought it was auditions.
Yeah, right. hey.
Sorry.
As long as it's not self-taped. Hey.
I will say, I'll kick us off here because I would love to hear, what is your, I know that we're seeing more and more in real life events and more, maybe a steady stream, I wouldn't say more and more of in-person once in a while auditions here. It's important to, I think, to make the most of those connections. So I'd love to hear your take on that. But one of the things I wanted to do first is dispel a little of the grossness around networking. So you could take this question either way you want, actually, y'all. But what I would like to say is I think the reason why networking gets a bad rap is it is not about quality. It's about quantity. It is about receipts. It is about who did you meet, not how did you meet, or what is the connection that you truly had. And I have a client who right now, she is a Blumhouse Fellow. It's very exciting. She's chosen for the Blumhouse Fellowship. It's a big deal. And they've taken them all to Sundance. It's a big deal and whatever. And she's like, well, I want to make sure I do a good job while I'm there. And I said, great. Whoever you're seated next to, make sure you say hello and you learn who they are and meet them and learn their name and say hello. Because there's sure, you'll meet more than the person you're seated next to. That's definitely going to happen. But if we can just make a real connection instead of maximum number of connections, it's going to which is also not a word I want to use, but it's going to be that much more helpful to you than to have a bunch of fly-by-night connections. And it just made her feel so much more empowered. And you can just imagine, everyone at Sundance is who do I need to meet, who do I need to meet, who do I need to meet? And the person who is going to be hey, truly interested in the person across from them is going to be the person that you remember, that you build a connection with, right? So,
sure.
Networking, who wants to jump into this morass of old Brea tar pits? Okay, go for it.
I would love talking about networking. And I think one of the reasons why it gets such a bad rap is that many actors think about it in terms of what can you do for me, which automatically feels bad to the person that they're meeting. So I like to help people think about it as, who do you want to make friends with? Because ultimately, the people that you connect with in your industry that you want to work with again and again are people that you would also consider a friend. You have common interests, you have common creative visions, you have common values. And so I like to help people think about it as, who do you want to be friends with, and approach it like that. The other thing I think is so hugely important, that's so easy to drop the ball on, is The fortune is in the follow-up. We make a connection, and then maybe you follow up afterwards.
You better. You better.
If you are courageous.
Yes,
but
right.
then sometimes you realize you didn't follow up, and then you're like, oh my God, it's been too long, and now they're going to think I'm weird, and I dropped the ball, and I might as well never follow up this person ever because I waited too long. And so the fortune really is in the follow-up. So be consistent with connecting and like watering the relationship of this new friend that you made that you'd like to get to know better. And yeah, friends. It's about friends.
Yeah, and what you just said about the follow-up, I'm going to give you everyone a real good trick that I lean on all the time, which is be a good Victorian lady. When you were a Victorian lady and you stopped by someone's house, you dropped off a calling card. Whether you saw them or not, you dropped off a calling card, or you had them right on your dance card, or whatever it is. And so there was never a time you would stop by someone's house and not drop the card. So I don't care if it was a year ago you met somebody, then you can say, hey, it's been a long time since we connected. I just want to thank you. It was such a good time to have that conversation. No one is going to think you're a weirdo for doing that. If you need help with this, I'm going to just reference episode 74, which is how to say thank you without being a weirdo on the Brian Breaks Character podcast. I kind of walk you through some language for this. But one of the rules we live by we had our retreat this past weekend with my team, and one of the rules we live by is that it's never too late for gratitude. And so if I send someone a gift a year later because I didn't get to it then, but I want them to know how much it means to me now, I don't think that is a bad move. I think, sure, I wish I got there sooner, great, but I don't have to apologize for my gratitude being late either. So I wish this got to you sooner is a way to say that without an apology, right? So I think, if you just lean on I have really good Victorian lady manners, you can send a thank you every time you meet somebody or follow up every single time, right? Without getting into should I, shouldn't I, how do I say it? It just becomes the rule. I follow up with people when I meet them. I wanted to let you know it was great to meet you. Take good care. Goodbye. Boom. And Heidi, I wonder if you have some social media. Give us little. Yes, please.
I'm like, social media is the answer here too. Follow up, but then get organized because, yes, it is, we want to have quality relationships, but if you meet a couple people at this event, if we don't get organized on social media, so we can stay top of mind with them, so we can warm this temperature of this new relationship, we will lose contact, right? There's algorithms on every social network that may keep us from seeing them. And I'm really against turning on notifications because it makes our phone the boss of us, right? Yeah. So you need to get organized, okay? So when you get home from an event, yes, connect with them on social, follow them, but don't just follow them. I want you to take an extra step to make sure that you see their post regardless of algorithms, because you really need a system to stay top of mind. So for anyone listening, if you are on Instagram and this person you just met is on Instagram, you can add them to your favorites feed. It's that new feed, right? We've got the regular feed, we've got the favorites feed. Now they're going to be at the top of your feed, or you can just go to the favorites feed and really have this organized list of 50 people that you want to get to know or already know you, right? If you both use Twitter, you can add them to a private Twitter list of industry connections, right? And then I can just go into my Twitter list. I can stay top of mind with these people that I want to warm the relationship up. And I'm organized. I know no matter what algorithm, no matter what platform, I'll be able to go in, build these relationships and get out and really nurture and grow these relationships on my own terms. Okay, so definitely... If you're in person, sorry, this keeps getting stuck on my button here. On this jean jacket. So, but after this in-person event, wherever you meet this person, just make sure that you are using social media, after the follow-up to keep in touch, to stay top of mind. Okay? Yeah, it's really easy if you're organized.
I love that, Heidi, because I think sometimes we prioritize one or the other. Sometimes if you met them on social, then you can only talk to them on social. If you met them in real life, maybe I can't even add them on social. Like the actual, the stroke that you get from some following and liking, whether that's good behavior or not inside of your psyche, we'll talk about a different day. But the stroke, hey, I met you and then I went and liked your thing, without it being overly aggressive. I liked 15 ones of your things, which I think means you want to get in bed with them. So right, is different, right? You can show that I'm interested. This is something interested. We're not talking about dating where I know you have to play a bunch of weird games if you choose to, right? We're talking about building a relationship, a real relationship. Anyway, who else wanted to weigh in on this networking thing? Monica, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved what Emily was saying about friends, because I think it's also important to kind of look at your thoughts and beliefs around the word networking, right? And, what do you think of it? If you think it's icky and gross, then it's going to be icky and gross, but rather I really encourage, like when I'm talking to my clients or friends or fellow actors, encourage everyone to really approach it with a beginner's mindset. Go into it with fresh eyes, with renewed curiosity, right? How fun can I make this? How many awesome people can I truly connect with? And then most importantly, be yourself. Ask genuine questions, like Emily was saying, like ask real questions about who they are, their interests, and then if, always offer value if you can, like maybe you can connect them with someone or offer a resource or something, because, people do love to talk about themselves. So the more you ask questions and get them talking, like people will remember you, because you're, like Emily said, you're creating a genuine connected and you're genuinely interested.
Yeah.
Back to Jo Kelly.
Yeah. Back to Jo Kelly.
You become interesting by being interested. Yeah.
Yes, totally.
Yep.
Jo, did you want to add something?
I would take it there too. I would have said, well, what I have been repeating since the last 6 months is be interested rather than try to be interesting. So that means don't try and get something out of network. Try and gift something. Try and give something. Because as you're generously being yourself and being present and really offering your truth in this moment and not the how should I behave or what should I say or what should I ask, but if you're really gifting your presence in that moment, you're doing your job as an actor. You're really being there. You're really being interested in the moment, in them, and what you're feeling, and sharing that vulnerably. Like, oh, it's scary for me to be talking to you. Like, if you can really be you, people see you. If you're going to try and, get somewhere with this networking and look good, again, you're going to bypass yourself. And if you're bypassing yourself, you're disconnecting from yourself. They cannot connect with you if you're not connected to yourself. There's
no one wants to talk to you.
way
Let's
they
just be real. No one wants to
No.
talk to that person. They can, like,
No.
you are, no.
Or they
I'm not-
can, but it will
You're
stay
flippant.
superficial.
Yes. Yes.
It will stay on that disconnected, small talk, which I guess some people enjoy, but that's not fulfilling. At the end of the day, it's not fulfilling for you as an artist, and it's not fulfilling for the person you're networking with anyway. And so for them to really want to see you again, you have to actually allow yourself to be seen in that moment and be truthful, free, you, and gift that presence. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Elise,
We've
did
all
you have
noticed
something?
those
Sorry.
people. I'm sorry, I was just going to piggyback
Yeah.
on that one more time. Like, I was thinking about like when we've met those people who are so into what you're saying, and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I'm the most important person in the whole wide world right now. Like, you're just-
You need to look at us all on the YouTube channel now because we're all making faces.
you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's true. I mean, and you heard this about like stars like George Clooney, for example, like he is with you. Like when he speaks to you, he's not looking over your shoulder, wondering like who else is around. And you hear this over and over again about those types of people, of that caliber who have that presence because they're being real and they're being with you, and you are most important in that moment, and they're looking at you and they're hearing you and they're being with you. And it really does. You walk away going, wow. So to Jo's point, that is a gift that you're giving to someone.
And
To
to
be
you
that present.
too.
Yeah,
To
for
yourself
sure.
too, right? Because when you're really present and when you're really paying attention to someone, when you're really interested and you really give them that, it's so fulfilling. Whereas, like you say, like who's behind their shoulder, that is never ever gonna work for you or for anyone else. It's just it feels terrible. So everybody wins when you gift yourself.
And that goes even back to the beginning of what Elise was saying of you are enough, of us talking about being grounded and taking real care of yourself, of being in your body, of trusting that experience, having the confidence of who you are, of your essence, of your authenticity. That's the only way you can do that.
And let's remember, it takes a lot of guts, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot, so we go in the room, no one there. We have to remember, like, it does take some wherewithal inside of yourself to go, like, okay,
course.
I'm here to be of service. And one of the ways that I've seen some of my clients do this, and I think you do have to have that self-care of, like, did I get sleep? I think it's important for you to take care of yourself. Like, you're going to go there. Like, there should be some amount of, I like, for me, the self-care might also look like, I know that I'm walking into a potentially anxiety-creating situation. I'm just going to know that before I go there instead of try to act like I'm not allowed to be anxious. so that I can be with that's probably true. And the best way I've seen some people do this, and I would say, when I'm my best, I would say most of this is I am the best wing person for everybody else there is when I think I'm the best. Like I'm the one introducing, I'm the Auntie Mame, I'm the Sally Bowles of the night. Right? I'm hosting the party, even though it's not my party, that I'm connecting. And that is where I feel like we can all lean into like, okay, great. It's actually not about me. It's about me trying to connect when I can feel a little edgy or whatever. Did you have something you wanted to add, Elise? I feel like you haven't had a chance for you to chime
I
in
agree.
Here.
Oh my gosh, I agree with everything that's been said. And two things you just mentioned, Brian, I find to be so true. I love connecting other people. So creating spaces where people can network or connect, or being the person at those events, like making sure people meet each other, like, oh my gosh, you have this in common, you have this in common, you need to know each other. Do you know this person yet? So if you have that in you, don't be afraid to lean into that, because it's a superpower. Not everyone is great at making those internal connections, and it happens by being interested, for sure. What I wanted to talk about was the self-care. What you're mentioning, Brian, like give yourself everything you need to feel like a star walking in, even if it's not, like be a star. So what does that mean? Does it mean you need enough sleep? Does it mean you need an outfit that you feel fabulous in, no matter what other people think of it? How can you feel your most fabulous self? And then like, I'm like losing my train of thought, because that right there, some
like,
people are going to be drawn to your, some people are going to, because some people are going to be drawn, again, going back to like, some people are going to be for you, so others are not. You're going to, by being the bright light that you are, some people are just going to automatically be drawn to you. And I don't mind the word networking. For me, like, I don't find that to be a gross word at all. My whole life has been that. My whole career has been that. And the word I like to use, my word for 2023, shout out to DaJuan, because I've been doing my word of the year since DaJuan's been doing that challenge. And my word for this year is connection. Because for me, I spent 3 years being in a cocoon and just like being in my house all the time. And I'm an extrovert. And what I've been doing with my network this year has been reconnecting with my deep friendships from my early 20s and reinvigorating my network. And so don't forget, we all have such a network. And by tapping in, checking in with your friends who you started this with a decade or 2 or 3 or however long ago you started your career, check in with them, see how they are. You probably have so many more mutual connections, and I find that so beautiful. What I've been noticing is I've been prioritizing once a week catch-ups with friends, whether it's via Zoom, in person, whatever. But it's not always about upward mobility. Do you know what I mean? None of these are not meetups for like, what can you get me next?
There's no
They're
call
all
to
meetups
action. This is like, let's say hello. Let's be people.
It's like,
right?
let's say hello. And then what happens, because there's no pressure there, I'm noticing I'm receiving so much more. And what I'm seeing from my old friendships and even my newer ones is like allowing myself to be seen. So for me, this act of connecting with someone then in turn becomes an act of self-care, because they've helped fill my cup.
Truly, truly.
I have one more thing I want to add to this topic, Brian. Something that I see actors struggle with a lot is they feel like they're not allowed to build relationship with certain people because they don't have enough credits or experience, and they use that to feel not enough. And I love what everyone's been bringing up here about, giving your presence, being the star. You can be and do those things no matter what credits you do or don't have. That does not make a difference for you to be able to connect and build relationships with another human being, even if they're further along in their career than you are.
Love that. Love that. Love that. DaJuan, did you get a chance to weigh in on this? I want to check in before we move on to something else.
Oh, I think everybody pretty much said it. I only thing I could possibly add to the brilliance that was said today would be just like be aware of the consciousness of actors past. Mm-hmm. That is a very big thing. I think what we do is we tap into borrowed beliefs from old actors' thoughts, and we bring it up into the future or the present moment of networking. And I really don't think it has to be an icky word. And if we all collectively think that means we're tapping into somebody else's thoughts on that. And it could also stem from you not wanting to ask for help. That's something else that you need to, I think we can spend a little bit of time uncovering, it's like, oh, I don't want them to think. As soon as you get into that, you don't know what anybody else is going to think. They could be like, oh my God, I've been looking for somebody just like you. Isn't that so exciting? I'm so excited about that thought and then the other thoughts for me. And I think, I always say, Brian, a version of what you say is there is no time limit on a thank you.
Yeah, totally. And I love what you just said, because one of the things is I'm going to talk, the most repeatable piece of advice that I've been given, I know I said that was the first question. I realize what it is because Elise said it, is there are motherfuckers out there who do not need to be your fan. Please let them not be. If you don't have somebody who doesn't like what you're doing, then you're not doing yourself enough. And it is, and I can point to a story, and I bet we all can. And I know I gave you questions to prepare beforehand. And everybody, listen, I'm taking things on the road. I'm being a pioneer now, because it is the number one thing that pisses me off. Because when an actor says I can only look like an actor to the public world, I want to go like, wait a minute, someone told me that in 1998. We're still saying that? Who's saying this? Who is this? Who is saying this in the world? What casting director is saying only be an actor to me anymore? I don't know who this is, but they must have a very loud megaphone, because we have ancestral trauma with that idea that we're bringing into every decade of you can only be an actor in front of other people.
Brian, but that's not, no, but casting directors or the great gatekeepers or the directors, they're not saying that. We're just
bringing it.
No, it's your actors. It be your people. That's what it's other actors talking about it, and they're perpetuating this. They're going to get blacklisted. Nope. Everybody.
Who has time? Who has time to blacklist you? Who has time? I don't know who you think you are.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know who you are. So important that you're so important that not only did you be a jerk, but I'm going to remember you for being a jerk.
And we're going to keep the list. Where's the list?
Where's that list?
It's a Google Doc. It's a shared Google Doc.
Monica, what did you want to say?
That's also an excuse. Like, people buy into that and stay in those beliefs, to your point, DaJuan, to your point, Brian, because it allows them to stay small.
Yeah. To be
it allows them to stay stuck. It allows them to not have to take action, right? I mean, that's why they're perpetuated, right? It's that fear. It's that like, oh, I can't be a pioneer because of these reasons. Even if they don't believe it, they're saying it, right? DaJuan, like, I know you've talked a lot about this, that like, don't buy into this, right? Be a pioneer, but people buy into it because it's actually easier.
It's easier. And I also think there's a perverse, because there's a perverse comfort in it. A perverse comfort if I take action here. Yeah. So we had a lot of feelings about that, which makes me so happy. Jo Kelly, you want to wrap us up? Yes.
Yeah, and it's more on Emily's field, but I want to honor that, and we have actors do this in our community too. When you're networking, if you are creating your own content, doing your own projects at whatever level it is, you don't feel like you come with an empty cup that's asking and begging. You have something going on, and that's a very distinct energy in you when you have something going on. When you're not trying to get, but not only do you want to gift your presence, but also if someone asks you questions, you have your own stuff going on. You're not that desperate vibe. You don't have it. That's right. So,
and you know what? I just want to say, Jo, I love that you said that. It doesn't. I want to say yes to the writing of your own things, and I love all of that. But also, you're allowed to be an actor who says, and I have my own thriving yoga business that I love, and da da da. Like, I want to make sure, like, this makes you more interesting. When I first moved to LA, I used to have a happy hour every single Friday at my house. The number one thing casting directors, when they would first meet me, because we were all in person at the time, would be like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" And did any of them come? 1 out of 5 maybe came, but that's a lot. But it wasn't about getting them there. It was just the interesting thing that I had to talk about that I was doing other than being an actor, right? It can also be your writing that you are doing, which is similar in this. I'm not saying taking that away, but I want to make sure we don't write off that it has to be in the same category. I must be talking about things that are happening to me that are making up the ladder in this space.
Was anybody invited to this happy hour on this call?
I did not know you. I did not know you, man. Okay.
Can we just take a show of hands? If anybody's looking at this on YouTube, I want you to see the show of hands who were not invited to the happy hour. Raise your hand.
I did not know you. I did not know. We're trying to 10
We're not going to tell you how many people raised your hand. Look at YouTube, you all.
Rebel, Brian. Rebel. Do it again.
I know. To your point, though, too, Brian, like, what if you don't have anything going on? Like, that's okay too. Like, what if you're just taking care of yourself right now? And that's like what your job is at the moment. Is like, you know, I had to pull back from stuff, and maybe I'm just really focusing on my own expansiveness. I'm just really focusing on taking great care of myself, of self-caring.
That's
and
radical.
To Elise's point, I love it.
That's radical. But
It's truth.
Self-care
Yeah,
is anything that
It's
helps
essential.
you feel good. Self-care isn't, you know, people think, oh, it's massages and blah, blah. No, it's anything that makes you feel good. If that's drinking water, eating good food, putting on something that makes you feel fabulous, getting your hair done, getting your nails done, just like whatever, pumping yourself up, doing warrior pose before you go into a networking thing. Like, that's all self-care, right? But we also don't always have to be doing.
Yes. And but I think one of the things that Monica's talking about, I think is important, is how do we talk about it in a way that gives someone permission to understand it and also doesn't make us look like a wackadoo, right? Because if you were like, I'm just focusing on my own expansiveness right now, I'd be like, me too. Okay, girl.
Well,
right?
I disagree.
I actually love that, though.
Brian.
Me, I would love to talk about that.
If you own it and it's true, it's wonderful
Well,
to
that's
own
what
that.
I think. The owning it is. I think you need the language, though.
Great.
I agree, but I think you have to. I'm just an advocate for people not looking like a wackadoo because I think it's important in our business. Because I will, if I'm Mr. Joe Blow producer and I'm like, I'm focusing on my own expansiveness right now. It's so nice to meet you. I'm gonna be like, can you just use like normal words so I can understand what you actually mean? Because if you said to me, oh, you know what, right now I'm actually focused on really taking care of myself because this is what I'm finding to be really good in my work. Or like if I'm giving some more, you know, otherwise it sounds like I'm just sucking on crystals right now. And I'd be like, okay, we are not in the same. Like, there are all kinds of crystals on my desk. I'm just saying it would make me, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, you are right. I do lean into the woo. But I agree. Like you just said, though, you know, I'm focusing on myself right now because that makes me a better artist. It makes me a better human.
Yes.
It
Give
makes
me the
better
because
at
if you don't give me the
every
why,
possible thing.
if you don't give me the why, it feels like it actually feels performative. It doesn't feel like
I see what you're saying. But
So
you all get what I'm saying.
Yeah, we get what you're saying, though, Monica. We get what you're saying. I want to make sure I made it for everyone in the audience listening. All right.
And I think we're in a very interesting shift in our culture that's moving away from constant productivity. It's actually, we're starting as a culture to realize how important it is to take care of ourselves and our mental health and our bodies, and that walking away from work is actually a huge benefit and really important. So I think we're in the midst of moving from doing to be able to say I am working on my expansiveness, and people being like, yes, that is a positive.
I so agree. I may sound like I'm talking to Heidi, I wanted to come to you for a second because people have to say all kinds of things. And tell us, how do you connect to you?
Well, I'm a doer. I get things done. I work a lot. And for me, like the last 6 months have been self-care, and it's been I have like scheduled what I call sloth time. I love sloths. I'm kind of obsessed with them. I got to go to Costa Rica this year and actually see them. I need more sloth in my life. I'm the opposite of a sloth, right? Like I said, I'm a doer. I get things done. And that's one thing I've realized the past 6 months, that I need more sloth time. So I actually put on my schedule every day, there's 30 minutes, and I write down sloth time, right? And as a reminder, this is hanging on my light here, this little guy from Costa Rica. And it's my reminder. I have to have my sloth time. That means I'm not working. That also means I'm not on my phone because I work on my phone. It means I'm not doing anything for anyone. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. Sloth time is me time. It's recharging time. It's self-care time. I say this, and my daughter is right there. And it's the sloth time is like so sacred to me now. It's how I've gotten through the past 6 months because I've needed this time for myself. You know, with my business, with things that have happened with my life. I lost my father 5 months ago, so you know I need this sloth time more than anything else to recharge and to show up for everyone else, because without it I can't show up and help actors.
Oh, that's so great, Heidi. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that a lot. I think I need to put some on my calendar now that you've said that, and I like the name too.
You have to schedule it in, or it won't happen.
It won't happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
you have
To see the sloth, you have to go to YouTube to see the sloth and the microphone, actually.
See both of them. Well, we only have a few minutes left here, so I wanted to give the microphone back to each of you to be able to say anything else you want to leave our audience with as they're thinking about, they're hearing this at the beginning of February, right? They're thinking about the rest of the year. They're also, on their way to an audition or as they're setting up their self-tape. What is something you would love to leave with the actors that are listening right now? It can be short and quippy, or it can be like, hey, I want you to hear this, so that they can feel like, a better, yes, we call this a survival guide, but, I want this to be your thriving guide. What helps you really root in what we've got going on here. And I think I'll go first because it feels like the fair thing to do since you're all on the spot here. So if I was going to say I want you to leave with anything is that there are no rules, that, that you do not have to be a certain way, do a certain thing in order to take up the space that you're meant to take up or to be seen. And I believe that, y'all know that my background is also as a reverend, a non-denominational reverend, and I believe that our purposes are given to us by something other than ourselves, and it is our job because we are the ones who are gifted to do that in the way that we are, and there's no one else on the planet in this lifetime that can do that in the way that you can do that. And however that path goes, whether that's a damn series regular on HBO or the star of the next 20th Century Fox film, or that you're booking co-stars consistently, or you are doing theater in your garage for your family, that purpose is being, as you are fulfilling that purpose, the right things are falling into your path, and the right things that are happening are meant to be happening. And I'm going to piggyback on one of the things that Joe said earlier, which is that only the present moment exists. Everything else is made up. And so in our presence, I think we can also remember who we are most ready to remember who we are in the present moment. So that's what I want to leave everybody with. So do that until June or July when I come back for part 2 of the survival guide. Who would like to share?
I can go, since you said my name, I feel like I have to go. I would not add anything than be you and figure out whatever is preventing you from being 100% you, whatever's in the way of that. But there's nothing else to run around for until you are 100% there. Because if you show up for all of these things that you can do for your career, networking, social media, whatever it is, everything, the tapes, the auditions, the headshot, the reels, there's so much to do, and you're not 100% there, nothing's happening. Not to you. It's not happening in the casting director or the director or the agent's side, and it's not impacting when the story's out. So get you down 100%.
I love that.
I love that.
I can piggyback on that. You just inspired me, Joe, too, because, I believe acting is when preparation meets opportunity, and it's really about alignment. And that's one of my words for this year is alignment. And I talk a lot about being ready, and being able to be you, as Joe says, you can only do that when you are focusing on being in alignment mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, being there, know thyself. Know thyself, right? We talk about wanting all these auditions and new reps and this and that, but when we're coming at it from a place of scarcity or not really understanding who we are and what we really truly want at a deep, deep level, you're not in alignment. Right? But when you are, I think all those things that we want, right? All the experiences, love, relationships, success, money, all that stuff can come to us when we are focusing on our health, truly taking care of our bodies, mind, body, spirit, like I said, surrounding ourselves with people that support us, that help us be better versions of ourselves, grow into that fantastic version that is you. And of course, dream big and all of those things, but you will be prepared when you focus on being aligned. And that's when you will call in all of those things that you truly desire.
Great. Thank you, Monica. So great. Elise, did I just see you straighten up? DaJuan, go for it.
I'll go. I'll say a couple things, and we might have to stay an extra 15 minutes once I open up this can of worms. And I just want to say, there's a lot of hot takes out there. If you're listening to this, that might be saying, and you might feel in alignment with, about do not put a booking on your vision board, or do not put worry about getting auditions, or worry about all that stuff like that. And I'm here to tell you, from where I standpoint, put it on there. Put it on there, and go for that series regular, go for that co-star, go for that recurring guest, go for it and put it on it. And don't let anybody hot take you out of that, because what you really need to understand is what I'm coming from is learn how to quantify that success, right? So did you get close enough to it? Did you get like this little thing here? Because I can feel like, and Monica, that's my girl. We are woo-woo. We can woo-woo ourselves all the way down to the woo-woo. But at the end of the day, I think it's okay to do a little bit of like, let me put a little business on this. Let me put this little stank on it, and I'm really, really, really okay with that. But really, at the end of it, say, did I get closer to this that I was 3 months ago? If you're that old saying, shoot for the stars, and if you hit the moon, this applies here. But
data over drama.
Yes. But if we're out there just flailing, and we're only, I think the best part about woo-woo is when the 6 planets were all in retrograde and they were coming back around, you know what I mean? Is that we have some substance with it. And so that's why I want to pair those two with it. I want to also add, you cannot, here's this for you, Monica, you cannot manifest from a clogged portal. You cannot manifest from a clogged portal. Make sure that you are getting up and you are doing all of that stuff to make sure your day is set up, your week is set up, that you are in alignment. If you are not, you will not get all that stuff. Like Joe said, you can't do any of this stuff if you are not being yourself. And I would just say the last thing I want to say, this something that's so hard for me to learn, and I hope you get it, is all of my actor peeps out there, please learn how to float. Please learn how to float. That when you float, when you're sitting in a pool, you've done everything. You've done all the things. Just float for a while. You're not allowing anything to come to you because you're like, what else needs to happen? Just learn how to float in the sea when you have done it all. It is coming. You just got to float. Float, float, float.
Elise, you wanted to share?
Yes, mine builds right on everything DaJuan just said. Learn how to float. I love that one. Absolutely. Yeah. I believe you cannot miss what is meant for you, but you do need to show up, and you need to get out there and give yourself permission. That's what I want to say. Give yourself permission. I've been doing this myself lately, and sometimes I was at a museum a few weeks ago, and it was lovely. I was connecting with an old friend, and he was there with a new friend. So I met this new person, and this is his name is Shamor. And Shamor is the kind of person who, at the museum, if there's fun things you can do and interact with, he's like taking every opportunity and doing the picture here and holding the thing up here and creating the thing here. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. I never give myself that permission to just be really, really playful and just go with my instinct and just let myself do what I actually want to do. Again, so much of our conditioning, this is all Joe's work too, so much of our conditioning is like us stopping ourselves from doing the thing. So in most cases, many folks listening to this, you actually can have the thing that you want, but are you actually allowing yourself to, number one, let it be your own way? And like, your path is going to look like other people's. Be okay with that. And the final thing around that is, life is an experiment. We don't know. All we have is the choice that's in front of us. So take the choice. Don't stop yourself from taking the next step. Take the next step, make the choice, take the next step, make the choice, take the next step. And once you get going with that, it's gonna feel scary, but then it's gonna feel in flow, and you're gonna have fun, and it's gonna be scary again. And sometimes you'll just float. But giving ourselves the permission to just play, to go with our instinct, and to not be the person holding us back. I just want to share that with everyone, and I wanted to finally share just one example of this in my day yesterday. Yesterday, I went to the Warner Brothers studio tours and allowed myself to just be like a kid at the playground, planting my feet on the sets and just letting myself be a tourist, but also be my 5-year-old self, having so much fun, holding an Oscar, manifesting, taking a picture of myself with all these Oscars. So like if you know, allow your inner child to come through. If there are activities you can do to get playful again, I urge you to do it, because everyone's going to have so much more fun in your presence and be attracted to you if you're having fun.
Heidi, what did you want to leave people with today?
I will leave y'all with a quote from one of my favorite humans, Dolly Parton, which goes along with a lot of things we talked about today, and that's find out who you are and do it on purpose. You know, do it on purpose on social media, in interviews, in your networking. Be it, own it, share that story with the world. Everyone listening, you each have a story to tell. Share that story, share it online. Don't be afraid to share that story, and just share it on purpose everywhere, because that is going to be your secret weapon as an actor offline and online.
That's so great. Thank you, Heidi. Emily, how about you?
I would say one of the coolest things about being a creative is we get to create something out of nothing. There's this idea in our mind, and whether you're a painter or a furniture maker or a writer or an actor, we create something out of nothing, and then it becomes this tangible thing that goes out into the world and has an impact and moves and affects other people, which I think is just, it's so amazing that we all get to do that. And, you know, I love helping actors create their something out of nothing. They have an idea, they want to create something for themselves. And I just have to share this because it was so powerful. The last 3 days I've been teaching an intensive, like all day, every day, short film lab intensive. And this one exercise just like broke everyone open in a great way. So we were helping people who don't know what they want to write about identify what it is, what they want to write about. And there's 2 questions that they had to ask themselves. The first was, what pisses you off? And the other was, what breaks your heart? And it was just something about those 2 questions. People had come in with sort of surface level ideas and light things, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh no, I'm throwing that all away. I finally know what I want to write about, and it's this deeply personal thing that I'm so charged up about. And it just was, they're really powerful questions. So that was just what I want to share. If you're thinking about writing something, if you're trying to find your way into a scene, if you feel stuck in your own creative journey, what pisses you off and what breaks your heart are really amazing ways to reconnect with what you care about and use that as fuel to continue creating something out of nothing.
I love that, Emily. Thank you so much for sharing that experience of your group, too. That's really helpful to us. And those questions feel very much about being interested and not being interesting. That sounds like we'll bring back to that you are enough. So I want to thank my guests here today, DaJuan, Emily, Jo Kelly, Heidi Dean, Elise Arsenault. Some people got last names, but they don't. They're all linked to in the show notes. They've all got wonderful, great gifts for you in the show notes as well that we've lined up for you. So I want to thank each of you for being here today and spending your time. And we will see you again all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Bye.